Okay. All right. I don't think I have any viewers. I don't have any followers. It's because we're trying to tell everybody we're going to on here. Anyway, let's begin. So here's things are happening way too fast right now. I've been trying to sit down and break down these massive, era-defining events. Give you like a solid analysis of what's going on. But honestly, by the time I can finish one thought, next thing can happen, and it makes the last relevant. Anyway, I've got all these videos piling up, things I need to put out there for you guys to see, but I haven't been able to put up, so I just decided instead of driving myself crazy trying to wrap my head around everything and putting it into my own words, trying to give you guys all the good parts that we put out. On top of that, I'm going to try something new. And try to show you window. I might not do that today, but I'm try to do that. So yeah, I'm just gonna watch the videos with you guys and
I won't obey. You cannot tell me what I cannot say. I'm here to last, so yeah, I'm here to stay. I'll live each second like my final day. You can't take that away.
Oh wow, there's been music going on this whole time. Anyway, but if you guys didn't hear what I just said, instead of trying to watch the videos and trying to give you guys what's important, it's just happening so fast. It's too crazy. Everything's just becoming irrelevant by the time I try to even catch up. So we're gonna do it live with you guys. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's try this. All right, guys. Let's see. Let me bring this on. Now, you guys have to work with me. I'm new to this whole StreamYard thing, so I might be a little slow in the beginning here. Let me. All right, you guys can see this screen, right? Yeah. And let's see. Let's start from what are the ones I wanted to watch first. All right, let's just go. This one.
I mean, it's crazy to think about it.
Sorry about the
it used to cost millions.
Ads, guys. All right, so this is very important, actually. I think it's crazy because they're coming around. Even CNN, who is obviously just a giant mouthpiece for whoever likes to watch CNN, giant mouthpiece for the empire. But even they're coming around and just, listen to all this. I'll comment if I think it's necessary.
Its life, but after the lies and slanders leveled at Israel, I decided to come and set the record straight. What stood out in what was a pretty comprehensive speech from the Israeli Prime Minister to you?
I wonder if it's too fast for you guys.
Well, clearly the defiance stood out, and clearly singling out Iran and painting this picture of either blessings or something far worse, a curse, and holding up those maps. In many ways, this was sort of vintage Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This is where he actually feels comfortable, where he is speaking to an audience, where he feels that he is a master orator, and he was delivering clearly his version and his belief, but it's not the first time we've heard him single out Iran. I think any of us that were looking to try to see if there was a nuance in there about this potential ceasefire with between Israel and Hezbollah on the northern border, I think his continued references to America and France about how Hezbollah and Iran as well have been responsible for killing your citizens was kind of getting specific on this was your initiative, but examine this, why don't you? I mean, look, the big takeaway here has to be this is a prime minister who's not climbing down from anything he's said, who doubled down on everything that is said so far, the demand for the hostages back, his position, his view, and the takeaway has to be at the moment, in this moment of escalating tensions across the northern border, is there was nothing in there that told us those escalating tensions are going to be tamped down in any way in the short term, Becky.
And let me bring in Ben Wiedemann, who is in Tyre in Lebanon. On Hezbollah, Benjamin Netanyahu said, and I quote, "Enough is enough. We won't rest until our citizens can return safely to their homes," echoing what we've heard from the defense minister earlier today, and a stated aim of the Israeli government, or certainly the prime minister at this point. What did you make of what you heard?
Becky, if you take into account what you just said and the fact that I don't think I heard the word ceasefire once in that speech, that clearly Israel is set on its current air campaign and perhaps a ground incursion to try to push Hezbollah back. Now, for instance, he did say that Hezbollah has a missile in every kitchen and a rocket in every garage. That sort of sends a rather alarming message to people here, because the fact of the matter is, in South Lebanon, there is not a missile in every kitchen and a rocket in every garage. But this seems to indicate that Israel considers every house, every kitchen, every garage to be a legitimate target. But
Oh wow, well I've been talking without an audio. Well, these are the things I'm gonna try to get better at. I'm sorry guys, but anyway, I wanted to give credit to the guy who made this, which is Muslim Central. He's got, this is a great video, this little great clip that puts out, I think it puts out so many great little points that need saying. And so yeah, I hope I don't get flagged or, you know, for copyright stuff, because, you know, I'm trying to give him credit and hopefully he will get more views and subscribers.
broadly speaking, this was classic Netanyahu, in which he divides the world into black and white, good and evil. He talks about the curse. And of course, we're in Lebanon, which is part of that curse. I think people would scratch their heads a bit, because the fact of the matter is the Middle East is an area of grays. There's no black and white. Certainly take into consideration that Israel has occupied the West Bank, East Jerusalem, the Golan Heights, and essentially occupied Gaza, despite the fact that settlers pulled out in 2005. That is an open wound in the region that Israel has not really done much to treat. There was a peace process at one point, but that didn't go anywhere. And certainly the rhetoric that comes out of Israel from some of the extremists sends a very dark message to the region, that this is not necessarily a question of good and evil, that there are extremists on both sides of the conflict, and those extremists on both sides are really the ones who are driving this conflict forward. And what we're seeing increasingly is that the United States, under the current administration in this election season in the United States, has really just put the Middle East on a back burner, throwing lots of rhetoric and encouraging words about diplomacy and peace in the Middle East and whatnot. But the fact of the matter is very little is actually being done about it. The US and France put forward what they called was a ceasefire proposal, but it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And every day in Gaza, in Lebanon, more people are dying. More people are being killed. Becky?
Koshan, let me bring you in here before I also ask for some analysis from Gideon.
Anyway, Yeah, I'm gonna continue playing this, but some of the stuff that's going on, it's just so much hard. It's just hard to keep up with. You know what I mean? And anyway, well, I have a compilation of some of the notes I've took, so I'm gonna get into that whenever whenever possible. So I'm gonna let you guys finish this.
On the issue of Gaza, very specifically, he said there is no substitute for total victory in Gaza. He said, we do not seek to resettle Gaza. We seek to de-radicalize it. We're focused on mapping up the remaining elements of Hamas and let them go. He said of the hostages, those who are alive must be returned alive, and the remains of those who are dead must be returned. There is no substitute, and I repeat this, for total victory in Gaza. So we're just sort of describing some of what, or reliving, as it were, some of what a very defiant Benjamin Netanyahu has just said at the UN in New York.
It's pretty obvious that they've given up on all the hostages. Not that they ever cared. I mean, come on, the Hannibal thing. They don't give a shit. Pardon my French. Not only do they not care, they wish they would have just died earlier. I know that. I'm pretty sure. You know. I'm pretty sure everybody thinks that. And that's why they're in the streets, you know, protesting this bastard of a prime minister.
York. On the issue of Gaza, what do you take out of what you've just heard?
Listen, Netanyahu is living in a world of delusion. There is no total victory in Gaza, and there is a deal on the table. And this is what the world needs to understand. This is what the Americans need to know. They know it. They've seen the deal. Hamas has agreed to a 3-week deal, during which time the war would end. Israel would evacuate Gaza.
Oh wow, I've been muted again. Wow, I suck at this. Sorry guys. Oh wow. Anyway, point being that it's pretty obvious to everybody that not only does Netanyahu not care, you know, it doesn't even matter. I'll get into the analysis later. I'm going to use my notes, but I think that Netanyahu is going all in, and this is his only way. And this checks a few different boxes, which, you know, I'll just play this and I'll get into some of these things I'm talking about later.
There would be an agreed upon release of Palestinian prisoners, and Hamas will return all of the hostages. This is not only a deal on the ceasefire, but Hamas has also agreed that they are supporting the establishment of a civilian, technocratic, professional government in Gaza, which they will not have a part of. They are willing for this government to be empowered because they know that if they rule Gaza, there won't be a single dollar of international aid going into rebuild Gaza, and Gaza is destroyed. There's nothing left in Gaza. 2 million homeless people, disease, devastation, no sanitation, no fresh water, no schools, no universities, nothing. Gaza needs to be rebuilt, and it needs a responsible Palestinian government to do it. Now, we asked Hamas if they're talking about turning over internal security and their weapons to the new civilian, professional, technocratic government, and they said yes. But what I say to the Americans, to the Israelis, to everyone is don't listen to me. This is on the table. I have it in writing. I have voice messages from Hamas saying it. The officials need to check it. And President Biden needs to understand in his final months in office that his legacy is either going to be the war in Gaza or ending the war in Gaza. And we all know that the day that the war in Gaza ends, the war in Lebanon ends, and we need to get into the diplomatic path. There is no solution to this conflict without the freedom of Palestine, the establishment of an independent Palestinian state next to Israel, the realization of the two-state solution. This is the way forward, and this is the way to defeat extremists, not through weapons, not through wars, not through killing.
Gideon, your thoughts?
It was so embarrassing, Becky, embarrassing and pathetic, because Netanyahu is a good speaker, no doubt about this, a very impressive one. But today I think he reached one of the lowest points of Israeli propaganda. To speak about blessing in the Middle East, after killing over 40,000 people in Gaza and distracting Gaza, and to bring Gaza to a stage in which it's nothing but a humanitarian catastrophe, and to speak about blessing. By the time that you stand on the stage, on the podium of the UN, your army is continuing to kill both in Lebanon and in Gaza, and you speak about blessing.
I've not seen this much evil.
Gaza and the militarizing
I can't
Gaza.
remember
What about
this much evil.
the radicalization of Israel? Netanyahu is today hostage of the most radical fascist partners in his coalition. What about the radicalizing Israel, who in the last year speaks only in one language, the language of force, the language of brutality, many times the language of barbarism? Where is the ceasefire? You don't speak about the ceasefire at all. You don't mention it. What? How are you going to finish those two very cruel wars without even mentioning
So,
the ceasefire? One more sentence.
I was really interested. Yeah, go on, Gideon.
And then the decoration of the hostages, really a decoration. He could have released those hostages 1 year ago, 10 months ago, 8 months ago, most of them. He wasn't ready for this. Now to stand in the UN and to use them as a slogan, as a decoration for his speech, ask the families what they think about him. Ask experts who know that we missed so many opportunities to release them. So really, I for many months or years, I was accused as a Bibist, as a supporter of Netanyahu, which is not exactly the case, but that's not important now. But today, I really felt embarrassed. This was the lowest propaganda, the cheapest propaganda, which doesn't serve Israel, I'm afraid.
Here, let me play the next one while. Oh yeah, this one's good. All right, this guy. I really hope I'm not going to get flagged in terms of copywriting for this, because I mean, look, I'm showing where it's coming from and all that. It's the Counter Narrative, an English news channel, and this guy is actually really good in terms of his analysis. I've been noticing him more and more this past year, and I definitely recommend him for people who are interested.
Journalist Javed Rana is joining us now from the Pakistani capital to discuss the first anniversary since the Israeli incursion into Gaza has started. Good to see you, Javed. Now, how has the conflict in Gaza reshaped the infrastructure of the region over the past year?
I think 1 year down the line, the situation has gone from bad to the worst. Before discussing your particular question, let me just recall what was the situation before October 7. In September 2023, let's look at the bigger picture that was developing, which actually led to the October 7, and then from there onwards, how situation has gone from bad to the worst. In September last year, Israeli foreign minister is on the record.
Sorry guys, somebody's telling me this is too fast. Let me slow it down and then
Before discussing your particular question, let me just recall what was the situation before October 7. In September 2023, let's look at the bigger picture that was developing, which actually led to the October 7, and then from there onwards, how situation has gone from bad to the worst. In September last year, Israeli foreign minister is on the record to have said that 7 Muslim countries were ready to normalize ties with the apartheid state of Israel. And those 7 countries are Muslim countries, those are Arab countries, and among them also included, presumably, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and some countries in the African states. Now, in that context, the two-state solution had to be eliminated. That was the agenda of Netanyahu. So in that context, when Israel was continuing with this aggression in the occupied West Bank, in Gaza at that point of time, there was no option left with Hamas and other jihadi groups in Gaza that they had to go for some kind of a retaliation to prevent this from happening. Had there been not a October 7th military operation by jihadi groups inside the occupied Palestinian territories controlled by Israel, I think by now most of the Muslim countries would have normalized ties with Israel, and this question of two-state solution would have gone to the drain. That was the situation. Now,
to all the people thinking if this was October 7th was successful or not, I mean, who knows the real answer, to all these questions. Later we'll figure it out in terms of accuracy, but really it was over for the Palestinians before this whole thing, and now they're closer than ever. and everything's existential to both sides. It's just win everything or lose everything for both sides now, honestly.
Down the line, Israel has followed they call it as a Dahya doctrine. Dahya doctrine is essentially to punish the population, to punish every stakeholder that matters in a territory which is going to be occupied, which is going to be bombarded. So they have punished Gaza by killing as many as nearly 42,000 people. 11,000 people are still under the rebels. Nearly 100,000 people are either maimed or they have been injured. The infrastructure in Gaza has completely destroyed. There is no sewage system as we speak now, and there is no clean water in Gaza, and people are suffering from all kind of diseases because that was what exactly was the objective, the very motive of Israel, to create very tough conditions inside Gaza to force the population to leave the territory. And I think since Egypt has not allowed Palestinians to move into the Egyptian territories, therefore people had to be there, and as a result of which we have seen such a large number of unprecedented number of casualties within such a short span of time. If we compare it with the Ukraine war, and that is more than 2 years and a half, and now we have seen in Gaza it's just 1 year, and the scale of the casualties and the scale of the destruction is a far bigger. But again, tolerance level by the Americans and by the West is so huge when it comes to Gaza, and when it comes to the Ukraine and other wars, they are not willing to listen to anything, because what, according to one of the Western journalists who has gone on the record, that Ukraine is not Afghanistan, Ukraine is not any Arab countries like Iraq. Ukraine is a European country. It is our blood. So that is their blood. That is dear to them. So they would invest and they will go against Russia at all cost. But when it comes to the Muslim bloods, these Arabs, other Muslim countries, they simply don't care. Now, because the public narrative internationally has gone against Israel, that is the only success that the Palestinians have got. That is why we have seen some statements coming from some of the European countries, from the Americans, that Israel should go for a ceasefire. But at the same time, they've been providing all kind of weaponry support. They've been providing all ammunitions. They are sharing all kind of intelligence. And more particularly, Americans are part and parcel of in the planning of attacks against the Palestinians. And Americans have their warships in the Eastern Mediterranean and the Arabian Sea. And they have a contingency plan to carry out attacks on Iran in the event of a bigger war. Now, from Gaza, the war has expanded to West Bank, where nearly 23.
By the way, I'll get into why I think this, but I'm pretty sure that all of this is just a ruse. It's just a tactic by the United States, maybe even their European allies, to help the Israelis win this war with Iran, with the Palestinians, with the resistance. I'll explain what I'm talking about, but I think they're lying to everybody. I'll explain later, but these are very specific tricks that they're playing, in my opinion. I'll explain what I'm talking about after.
225 square kilometer territory has been occupied by the apartheid state. And now there have been airstrikes. In the latest airstrikes, nearly 18 people were killed in the occupied West Bank. And 800 people have been killed there. And total, I think, from 10 to 14,000 people are now under the custody of apartheid state. This is Gaza. Now, then Americans came up with the ceasefire proposals, and that was a kind of a cover where they that they basically subsided the international pressure onto the USA, and it tried to show to the world that it is doing something to bring peace in Gaza. That did not happen. Now we know these were all tactics. The war has expanded to very effectively to the Lebanon now. It's a Lebanon border now. Now, southern part is a part and parcel of the greater Israel, and I think that has to be occupied. They are trying to make incursions there, and Beirut is being destroyed. The southern parts of Gaza is being destroyed. Now, since Iran has retaliated twice and we have seen that now it seems that the entire region, the Middle East, is on the verge of a far bigger war. And we know at any point of time Israel can attack Iran, and that could possibly be tit for tat response, and which means there could be full scale war, which also means that the American could also engage themselves in carrying out attacks on Iran. So situation has gone from bad to the worst, and the killing of the Muslims, not only inside Gaza and West Bank, occupied West Bank, but also in Lebanon, it has been normalized. So dehumanizations of Muslims everywhere in the world, more particularly in the occupied Palestinian territories and also in the Lebanese territories, that has been normalized. Dehumanization of humanity has been normalized. But remember,
I have to say this. This is for all the Islamic or ex-Muslims out there. Listen, they're using you, all you people who are on YouTube and everything, in terms of ex-Muslims. They're using you to dehumanize Muslims. They're using you to help bomb your family. It doesn't matter if you're right or wrong about, your ideas or whatever. The point is that nobody is dehumanized as much as Muslims. At this point, at least, I think. And yeah, so this is very dangerous. And I think that this is very in line with certain plans, actually. I do think that this was, in a way, planned by Israel for very many years ago. I mean, if you think about it, before 9/11 and everything, I mean, this whole dehumanization of Muslims has been going on for decades. And we can talk about it, but I'm pretty sure the ones who have a little bit more background information know what I'm talking about, in terms of one of the biggest tactics of Israel being this whole thing of dehumanizing pretty much Muslims in order to just be able to do whatever they're doing and able to push people around the world to be okay with whatever is happening, because usually it's about killing Muslims for them, at this point at least.
this dehumanization is only restricted to the Muslims.
Now, what are the mental health implications for survivors in Gaza, particularly children who have been living under bombardment and siege?
Well, it is unimaginable. It's unimaginable. Look at the scenario where families after families have been eliminated. 3 generations have been eliminated. And children, every next moment, they listen only.
Sorry, I keep pausing it, guys, but it's just so unimaginable is real. It's right. 3 generations. This is genocide. If this is not genocide, then what is it? This is everybody who even tries to understand what's going on. If you're not completely lying to yourself, knows that this has been the plan the whole time. Everything they've been doing in Gaza from the beginning has been working towards this whole thing.
One thing, bomb blast. That is something a normal part of cycle of life in Gaza. That is something extraordinary. And with this kind of situation, obviously there is a psychological disorder among children. But remember, I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them a great patience.
Sorry, this is actually, I think, pretty important, if I remember correctly, so I'm going to rewind it a little bit.
Children who have been living under bombardment and siege.
Well, it is unimaginable. It's unimaginable. Look at the scenario where families after families have been eliminated. 3 generations have been eliminated. And children, every next moment, they listen only one thing, bomb blast. That is something a normal part of cycle of life in Gaza. That is something extraordinary. And with this kind of situation, obviously there is a psychological disorder among children. But remember, I think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them a great patience, which many other people elsewhere in the world lack. They have shown, people in Gaza, they have shown resilience. They have not shown their weakness. I have seen videos where the youngsters, teenagers, they are saying that they will face this Israel onslaught at every cost, but they would not give in. Now, the very purpose, very motive of Israel was to basically to punish Hamas in a manner that the Gaza's population turn against Hamas and other jihadi groups. That has not happened. All the surveys indicate that Hamas, which was not very popular before October 7, has gained more popularity among people. Now, the question is why? The reason being was that the people were already fed up with every next day airstrikes and incursions of Israel. Gaza was already blockaded by Israel. Nothing could have gone inside without the permission of Israel, except for some of the tunnels that the people in Gaza used to have. Now, I think for them, the situation was very bad. They don't want this war to continue. But at the same time, they don't want to compromise at the cost of their sovereignty, which they are nurturing. They have not got that sovereignty, but that is what they believe that it is their right. This is not a 1 year long struggle. This is a struggle which has been continuing from 1948 till now. But the question that you raise is very, very important. That now, as we speak, the 30% population of Gaza, at least, they are malnutrition. They are basically on the verge of facing a death because of starvation, and the aid is not being fully dispatched to them. Israel has been blocking all kind of these aid. All these trucks are being stopped. Only portion of the trucks are being allowed under the name of so-called security. And they are saying this aid is going to end up in the hands of the Hamas. So I think in a broader picture, what is extremely important and what really has pleasantly shocked the world that how people in Gaza are surviving. When they don't have a clean water, when they don't have any sewage system, when they don't have any home, because 70 to 80% their homes have been destroyed, where Israel used artificial intelligence to destroy all these homes in a very systematic manner to create conditions to depopulate it and take over Gaza. I think in that context, when people see all this happening outside Gaza, many people have converted to Islam because they find that the people in Gaza, they are extraordinary Muslim. They have set an example. These people are very different to the rest of the world because the kind of the resilience that they have shown, I don't see that in the recent history.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. But yeah, that's kind of half the point that I wanted to highlight is what's going on right now is such a upvote and huge momentum for Islam. Like, it's unbelievable. And for both, honestly, it's like you look at the Gazans and they're Sunni, right? And you're like, can you think of a more resilient group in the world? Can you think of any group that can take so much beating and yet not stay down? I can't think of anybody like that. I swear to God, there's going to be Israelis, like Jewish people, thinking, like, wait, that's us. Anyway, it's complicated. It's not you. But yeah, I mean, the Sunnis, I mean, think about it. Anyway, so yeah, that's just such a upvote, like, positive for the Sunnis. And then look at the Shiites. They're the only ones who are actually standing up, I mean, to the empire. They're the ones standing up for pretty much humanity. They're the ones, sacrificing everything to stop this genocide for their fellow Muslims who are actually Sunni. It's funny, most people, especially in Europe, you guys have been fighting each other in holy wars and like 30 years war, all these different wars about religion. And in the Middle East, we really don't have like wars that are specifically religion. They'll use religion to get people to fight each other, but it's not like the war didn't start because of that. You know what I mean? Even though I feel like in Europe there's a lot of I mean, look, I'm making it too simplified. I know. There's maybe just forget what I just said about the generalization. But in general, if you think about it, like they're both they're both doing so well in terms of people's view on these religions. I mean, I myself, I'm not religious at all. I'm an atheist, but I understand the necessity and I understand the benefits. And I mean, we can talk about religion later. And this right here is one of the benefits right here. And you can see it. I mean, what else can help you do this kind of resilience than really this, religion like this? Anyway, let this continue. I just got a message I have to answer, so I'm gonna mute myself, let you guys listen to this, and we'll continue on.
That is something extraordinary. The psychological disorder would certainly are there, but at the same time, we must recognize the fact that the resilience of Palestinian is something extraordinary.
Now, why has the international community been unable to stop or intervene in what some are calling genocide in Gaza?
What is this? What does this female dog mean? Some are calling. What channel is this? Obviously, it's a genocide. What channel is this? She's Turkish. Jamil Nashid, right? That's how you pronounce it? Jamil. All right, I'm not going to comment, but really? Some are calling? All right. Obviously.
I think this war has essentially exposed to the extreme end, exposed to the tipping point, the institutionalized double standards and the hypocrisy of the West led by the USA. Because Americans have marketed themselves. This is the country which believes in the human rights. This is the country which believes in the freedom of expression, freedom of association, democracy. But all what we have now discovered, basically now in a more naked manner, we have discovered that all these high values are only applicable to the Western world. When it comes to the Muslim countries, when it comes to the world outside the Western bloc, then they don't consider the other people as equal to them. The West believes that their values are superior to the other Muslims, but at the same time, they have used the authoritarian mechanism by using the countries like Israel directly or indirectly, and it has turned out to be a very big killing machine. What we have seen during last 1 year, that the West, from Germany, French, Britain, Americans, they've all supported the apartheid state of Israel in one manner or the other. These are not only the weaponry supplies. There is also diplomatic support. They have not allowed any resolution in the UN Security Council to be passed in favor of ceasefire. We are not talking about the two-state solution here. That is something which is very terrible, because look at how many resolutions US has straight away vetoed. It calls for a two-state solution, when there is a resolution for the two-state solution, USA blocks it. Americans calls for a ceasefire. When there is a resolution in the UN Security Council, it vetoes it. That shows so their level of hypocrisy. The Americans and the Western countries come down hard on the Turkey, on other Muslim countries, lecturing them every next year about the state of the human rights in their countries. But may I ask them, don't they see Palestinian as a human being? They have tolerated the genocide. Jews were killed in the Germany. That is a Holocaust. They came up coining this terminology of Holocaust from the Greek language. And when Palestinians are being killed, that is not a Holocaust. So these are the hypocritical standards that the Western have come up with. But now the world knows about it. Israel stands exposed to the world. Israel, yes, has gained short-term when it comes to the military gains. But when it comes to the international opinion, it has lost and it would lose further. Israel has created more and more enemies now in Lebanon, in occupied Palestinian territory, in the Middle East, and across the Muslim world. Now Israel will have to face more enemies at all levels. Despite the fact that the Jewish community, the Zionist network has a overwhelmingly hold over the international media. Nonetheless, the social media has beaten them up. The social media has exposed the double standards of the Western media and the Western government. And now people in the West, I think their opinion has aggressively gone against their government. And this time around, it can cost the U.S. Vice President the presidential election in November because of a very unfavorable opinion on Gaza issue when it comes to the how Americans are dealing with it.
Now, in what ways has the Israeli incursion into Lebanon
This might be interesting for some of you guys. This actually reminds me of pretty. This is interesting. So the whole Shia thing, right, is about, well, the Shia thing. The reason the Shiites, which means party, which is the whole thing would be the Shiite of Ali, which means the party of Ali, I think is how it goes. The whole thing is basically the Karbala story is extremely fundamental to the whole thing, and specifically like the kind of Shiism that Iran, is trying to, espouses to, which is very centered around the martyrdom and sacrifice and all that, which is the story is, I'm not going to get into any of the details, but in the end of it, the guy, the person who they think is supposed to be the leader of the Islamic community, the whole everybody is somebody named Hussein, who is the right grandson of the Prophet Muhammad, right? So they think that the guy who needs to be the imam of everybody, right? The Islamic whole community needs to be related directly under Muhammad. This is where they separate from the Sunnis. The Sunnis think that that's not a requirement. So they have 4 other caliphs, right? Before they allow Ali in, which these Shiites believe that he should have been first. Anyway, all this leads to what later becomes the Umayyad dynasty, following and chasing Hussein, right, to this area called Karbala in what is modern day Iraq, and basically massacres them, even though it was like a very, very small amount. Like, I don't know, in my head I have numbers like, I'll check this, which is like in my head I have like, for some reason 11, but it's not 11. It's like, double digits, less than 100 if I'm not mistaken, versus thousands, right? And apparently the other guys go, not only do they completely massacre these guys, they go crazy massacring these guys in terms of like brutality. And so this whole martyrdom of Hussein, which is basically, I'm not going to get into all the different details of everything, but basically dying for the right cause. And he would not stop because of the justice that he was trying to champion, right? So he died because of justice. And so this whole thing is extremely, very, very, very important, which is like literally why Nasrallah died. Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah. Like, may he rest in peace, he he died because he would not agree to, let go of the genocide that's happening. Anyway, but so that whole thing is very important. Now, sorry about this whole huge long-winded thing. I'm gonna have to speed this up for everybody later. But basically, his sister, right, is Zainab, I think, right, and Hussein, right, the main guy. His sister is Zainab, so she's alive at that point, and I'm not sure who else is alive from that company of people which he was with. Um, but I'm pretty sure that they massacred even like the children or something, right? Maybe not like all of the kids, because I think one of the, I know one of the children survived at least, right? So basically, Zainab, his sister, is brought in front of the leader. I'm guessing, I don't know if Yazid was actually there himself or it's just people representing him, but she's brought in front of them, and she is, pretty much the family that was supposed to be the rulers, and now they've lost, right? And so now the guys that won are standing in front of this lady whose whole family has been killed in front of her with blood every, just like some of the worst atrocities I'm sure you can think of, with, you know, blades and such. This isn't like, it's like the worst kind of dying almost, blood everywhere. And so they tried to diss her. And so they're like, haha, did you see what God did? Like, I thought God was on your side, look at what God did. How you feel about this? I'm paraphrasing all this, of course. And something along the lines of like, don't you think, what do you think about God doing all this awful things to you? What do you think about that? And then she says, basically, I see nothing but beauty here, or magnificence here. And to people who don't know what that means, basically, in this situation, means that in this situation, it was the most obvious thing was basically good and bad here. Usually everything's gray, nothing's black and white, right? But supposedly, excuse me, in this situation, it was clear to everybody right and wrong. And honestly, it doesn't matter how you stood in terms of the politics of that area. Apparently, the way that they killed those people was out of spite and revenge and just like unnecessarily barbaric. I mean, they could have just not killed him. They could have just took him prisoner. They could have done so many things except what they did. And so, in a way, it's an example of good versus bad, right? They killed the innocent people and everybody, and there was just like barely any fighters with them. Anybody who was fighting was actually just like very close family, like brothers and stuff. And so basically, what she means is never were we able to show clearly good and bad as well as you guys just exhibited to the whole world, basically, is what she means, and history, because now everybody will see who was wrong and who was right here. So basically, she means that by your action, I and my group will be, what's the word I'm looking for? Justified, or we'll be the right side because of what you just did. So this horrible, these horrible war crimes, basically, at the end are actually going to lead to good. So basically, she says that yes, God did do all this, but it's actually beneficial in the end. So that's why it's all beautiful. So basically, this whole thing reminds me of this, where this is the most horrific thing I've ever seen. And I'm coming from, somebody who I followed the Syrian war like by the minute, you know, and I'm talking like at least 5 years of it. Like no joke. Like like I don't know, nothing else was important to me, you know. Reality was just hit me in the face. I pretty much dropped out of college because of I just couldn't, nothing was important except pretty much realizing what was going on and worrying about Iran and actually seeing the 4D chess that's being played against all these people. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. But even compared to the Syrian war, and you know, this is backed by numbers and data. I don't care what they say. Like we can talk about it later in terms of data, and I'll bring you the proof because you know they can say whatever they want on, you know, whenever they bring all these guys in front of the TV and apologize for what the hell they're, you know, all these crimes. Doesn't matter what they say. Doesn't make it true just because you say it. There's numbers that show that at least in modern history, there's been nothing like this that's happening, you know. And that's why it just shows you the intent behind it and all that. Like this just shows that this has been the intent the whole time, to massacre and kill Palestinians and just wipe them out. Doesn't matter if they leave because they want to, or they're scared for their life, or they're just dead. As long as they're not, you know, existing in any land that Israel thinks is theirs, that's all Israel wants. So the people who are like, oh, you think Israel couldn't have killed everybody if they really wanted a genocide? What are you, dumb? Are you trying to lie to everybody on purpose? Are you lying to yourself? This is the only way that they can push this in this day and age, by, you know, making it plausible. Like, you know, plausible deniability. What are you talking about? We're not doing it. If we were doing it, we'd have nuked Gaza, right? Fucking, anyway, sorry. I'm gonna try not to swear so much. I swear so much. I'm gonna have to back it up for the podcast. Anyway, so what was I saying? Basically, hold on. My dog wants something. Hold on, excuse me, guys. Basically, what I'm trying to say is this whole horrible, horrific, I don't even know what to call it, that we've been all looking at, is the very clear right and wrong. So at this point, I judge people. I don't judge anybody really most of the time, but I'm judging you if you're on the wrong side of this issue at this point. Because if you're on the wrong side of this issue, you're either completely racist and you care zero about these, you know, Muslims, Palestinians, whatever you want to call them, Arabs, anything from the Middle East, whatever. And Israel can just do whatever, you're just going to look the other way. Or you're just completely lying to yourself and you don't care because all you care about is pretty much the hegemony of the West. Doesn't matter morality. None of this matters. Nothing matters except your side winning. Like I'm just, you know, nothing is clear at this point, honestly, that something is wrong on the Israeli side. Just like the Karbala thing, you know, this is getting so long, but I think it's important because if, you know, so much is coming out of this horror, and the positivity is that everybody can see it now. The duplicity, everybody can see the hypocrisy, everybody can see the blatant racism, the fact that, you know, none of these international bodies have, or, you know, they're all just charades, you know, made just to push the empire forward the best way possible. And it's just surprising how they're just kind of sacrificing it all for Israel, which actually, I'm not going to get into it, but leads me to the severity of the whole situation, which lets me think that it's related to global finance. Anyway, but Jesus, what was I saying? I'm all over the place. But basically, now that everybody can see, this whole horror show has been the most beautiful, in a way, act of God or whatever, which helped everybody in the world and history completely see past all of this hypocrisy and all this just show, all this theater. And it's just crazy how this is going on right now. Like, I never thought that this would be like, it's so intense on every level in terms of just morality, horror, just like, it's to the point where, I used to watch so many of these videos, just, horrible videos in Syria, like, after like my third beheading video, I was like, all right, this is just not good. I'm not going to watch this. This is not beneficial to my health. Besides those, I would almost watch everything, because I was watching these videos specifically there was a lot of information in these videos in terms of like debunking a lot of this propaganda that was coming from, both sides, honestly. And nothing, I can't even watch anything right now on Twitter or X or whatever the hell. I'm gonna call it Twitter, because fudge Elon Musk, he can go to hell. But even though he is providing the best platform for freedom of speech for now, at least, it's they'll do things that you can benefit from as long as they get what they want, and then they'll cut it off as soon as they're done. Anyway, again, tangent upon tangent. I'm sorry, everybody. But basically, it's just, this is the clearest evil that I've ever seen, and it's just beautiful how they've laid themselves bare. And that's what that whole thing is. I'm sorry, this is way too long. I'm going to continue with this. Wow. All right, I'm going to cut this into pieces, by the way. So if probably going to do every segment of these videos or whatever, maybe even every video, I'm going to split it up into different sections so you guys don't get overwhelmed. This is way too much tangent upon tangent.
Escalated tensions in the wider Middle East, and what are the potential risks of further regional conflict?
Well, the policy of Israel has been straight, basically to eliminate the leadership. They eliminated the top leadership of Hezbollah, and probably they have also managed to eliminate the second possible potential leadership of Hezbollah. And they have also managed to eliminate the several top military commanders of Hezbollah. But we have seen that this has not stopped Hezbollah. There are more and more missiles attacks, and there are more and more rocket attacks inside the occupied Palestinian territories. And Israel now simply doesn't know how to handle Hezbollah. What it doesn't understand is that you can assassinate a leadership of an organization, of a militant organization, of a resistance group, but at the same time, you cannot eliminate an ideology. You cannot eliminate the manpower that Hezbollah has built up over the period of time. Iran is on the record to have said in 2016 that it has trained 300,000 volunteers, militants, and they are meant for what? They are meant to carry out attacks on Israel in one way or the other. And this manpower exists in Yemen, in Syria, in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Pakistan, in parts of Pakistan where Shia community is settled. So I think we are, as we speak, we are heading now a far bigger war. We have seen that during the last 3-4 months, we have seen 2 attacks carried out by Iran, which has been in the past using Yemeni militant groups, which has been using Hezbollah and other pro-Shia militant groups in Iraq and Syria. Now it seems that the war between Israel and apartheid and Iran is going from proxy war to towards direct full-scale war. With the 2 attacks of Iran during last 4 months, where Iran used in the first attack more than 300 drones were used. That was more symbolic. And most recently, Iran has used 180 ballistic missiles. that was more disastrous. And there was also attack on the ground by Hamas. From 8 to 12 people, Israeli citizens, were killed. And as we speak, the Hezbollah has carried out attacks in Israel, and it has damaged a lot of infrastructure. So I think in a broader picture, we see the myth of Israel being militarily and in terms of intelligence as invincible state, that myth continue to stand shattered. Israel, in a very desperate manner, used that was fantastic in terms of intelligence. It was a fantastic attack by using using the walkie-talkies and by using the pagers. I mean, in terms of intelligence operation, that was something which was unprecedented, though it is something which is condemnable. But at the same time, that was essentially intended to create and restore its myth of being invincible in terms of intelligence, superiority, in terms of the technological advantage it has. Because on October 7, Hamas had shattered that myth of Israel being invincible by killing more than 1,000 Israeli citizens, and by freezing their all cameras on the border, and also by freezing their internet when Hamas fighters were operating inside the occupied territories not controlled by Israel.
Javed Rana, thank you for joining NewsHour, and thank you for your analysis.
The growing tide of anti-Israel sentiments.
All right. Anyway, this guy's pretty good. So, not all of them are, well, F him, but I'm talking about the guy that we just watched. Anyway, I gotta let my dog out for a second, so I'm gonna move on to the next one, and I'll be right back while you guys see which one is it. Not this one. Later.
Why this timing for Israel's escalation?
This one is really good. Yeah, I'm gonna let you guys watch this. Probably gonna have to rewind after I come back. It's pretty short, but there's a lot of important points that this guy is putting forth, actually.
On the Lebanon front, there's still debates as to whether Israel's infiltration of the Hezbollah comm system.
Everybody, if you do comment, like, comment, all this, help me grow, please, because I just started this, and anyway, but what was I saying? Comment if the speed is okay.
The mass maiming pager attack, whether that was about to be found out and had to be launched at that moment. Once it was launched, followed with the walkie-talkie attack.
You know what? I'm gonna put this on right when I come back, because it's just too important.
Morandi is so based.
Their supplies chains have.
This guy's great as well. Obviously, what's his name? Something Bone, Rathbone, or something like that. Let me.
Have been compromised.
But basically, this one's really good from him because it has a clip that I definitely want you guys to see. His name is Rathbone. Yeah, he's like an artist as well. He makes music. I think. Anyway, but you guys watch this while he. I'll be back for sure by the end, but specifically, there's a video that he's putting out, which is so powerful. I mean, he says he had tears in his eyes when he was watching it the first time. Me too. When I watched it first, I just couldn't help it. This whole Gaza thing, this whole year's made me so much more like emotional than I thought I was ever. Anyway, but you guys watch this. And specifically the end where this guy, I think he's Palestinian or something, there in Britain, that part is so powerful and important at the end. But this Morandi guy part is pretty good too.
The West is doing nothing about it. And I think lots of people are going to have second thoughts about buying any electronic devices from any of these Western countries or countries affiliated to the West. So the Israeli regime is doing no services to the West by carrying out these terror attacks.
It's interesting that you phrase it as a terror attack, given that
Without
obviously,
doubt.
well, given that Hezbollah is identified by America and many other countries as a terrorist group, and given that it was very specific in its targeting, extraordinarily precise. It is obviously horrific that civilians were killed in the process, but the vast majority of people who were damaged or wounded or killed by the pager attacks were members of Hezbollah, who are, according to America and Israel, a terror group. So that's how they would categorize it. That's not an act of terror. That would be under the laws of combat. They would say they are taking on combatants, and that's perfectly lawful and legitimate. That is their argument.
Here's if it was pagers and walkie-talkies or cell phones that were in the United States. I think you'd have American bombers over countries who they would claim were behind it. So let's put aside the hypocrisy.
But just to be clear, you don't think that Israel has any military right to respond?
But the evil empire says that they're terrorists.
Hezbollah firing rockets at Israel.
Israel does not have an ethno-supremacist regime. Apartheid South Africa never had the right to exist, and Israel never had the right to exist. The only
So it has no right to defend itself against rocket attacks.
But it has no right to exist when it came into being by displacing people and
I understand your position on its existence. I'm just telling you, given it
Yeah, exactly. Given that but again, Piers takes the might makes right approach. But we're gonna gloss over the most crucial aspects to this story and just say, yeah, they shouldn't exist. Sure. But the fact is that they do exist. Well, no, you would just agreed that Israel is an illegal occupying settler colony. It has no right to the land. So that's actually crucial that you understand this. You can't just, gloss over it like it doesn't mean anything and it doesn't actually bear on the facts today. It has everything to do with what is happening. It is the cause of October 7th. So again, this is Piers Morgan showing you first-class brain rot.
They have no right to defend itself.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, exactly. If you don't have the right to exist, you don't have the right to defend yourself. It's like saying the Nazis have the right to defend themselves. Do you think the Nazis have a right to exist? Piers Morgan, you just agreed that the fact that they don't have a legitimacy to that land, but now you're saying they do have a right to defend that land. What the what? Give me the crack pipe. Put the crack pipe down, Piers Morgan.
As long as you have a master race, as long as you have a hierarchy of race, as long as you have one race that considers itself superior to others, there's not going to be any peace. That's just a fact of life. Whether it's in the United States or whether it's in Palestine or whether it's in South Africa, there's not going to be peace. For Iran, the dismantling, and for Hezbollah, the dismantling, or you can call it the destruction, the dismantling of this system has to happen. And this is something that you don't accept, which is fine. You support racism.
No, I don't. No, hang on, don't.
Yeah, Piers Mogran.
Don't misquote me. I don't dispute for a moment that is the intention of Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, all funded by Iran. I have no doubt that Iran would like to see the destruction and removal of Israel. I get all that. I'm just saying that but hang on. Yeah. I'm just saying that right now it looks like Hamas is losing, Hezbollah is losing, the Houthis are on the run, and their big backer Iran seems to have disappeared. And I'm looking at this thinking, this is odd. Where is their big backer? Where is Iran, who's been sponsoring and funding all this terror? Where are they when the real action starts? And many people think, like I said, it's because Iran either lacks the capability or the will to try and respond to what's happened.
That's what you want people to think.
It's what people are saying.
Well, that's what people are saying, and that is a narrative that you wish.
What people? Whose people? Again, they're front-loading presumptions and assumptions about the geopolitical situation between Iran and Israel. He's front-loading all this rhetoric about terrorism so that it's baked into the question. So when you have the time to answer, it's like, well, you have to address the erroneous presumptions first. You have to reject the premise, the language that it's couched in first, before you can actually dismantle all of the propaganda and give an objective response. His real name is Pliers. Well, that's what it sounds like to my ears when I listen to him speak. It feels like pliers are mangling my ears.
Which is fine, but then you're going to be struck with reality ultimately. Ansarullah is not.
Exactly. If they respond, they're cowards.
I don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
Or if they don't respond, they're cowards, and if they do respond, they're terrorists. Yeah, exactly. You can't win no matter what. I mean, it's the same that goes for the anti-communist rhetoric the United States State Department has been known to produce since the age of McCarthyism and the Red Scare. If the communist isn't seen to be organizing anywhere, well, that's because he lurks in the shadows, and he's omnipotent and omnipresent. And if he is organizing, well, that's because he's this terrible, awful, powerful enemy that we must take down. So whether we see him or we don't see the communist, it's the same thing. They're all powerful and evasive. It's catch-22. It's the catch-22 double standards of American imperial brain rot.
The Israeli regime and the Americans have failed in the Red Sea. The Ansarullah survived 7 years of genocidal war backed by the U.S. and your government against their people. They defeated the.
I saw a really powerful video on, I think it was Twitter, and it was this man passionately defending the Palestinians and admonishing these liberals that are voting blue no matter who. And he put it so eloquently. He said, and maybe you saw this, but he said, what you're saying is, as you go to the ballot box, you're stepping over the piles of bodies of all the, amputated and mutilated children. And you're saying, oops, sorry, excuse me. Let me get through there. Got to go vote for more of this, basically. I mean, he put it way more eloquently. But that's basically what you're doing is, how privileged is it for you? You don't even have to factor in a genocide being done with your name and with your money. When you go to the ballot box, you can think about other issues that are not quite so extreme. You can vote blue because it doesn't really affect you, does it?
People who carried out the genocide war. If you think a couple of airstrikes from the Israeli regime is going to change anything, they will continue to enforce, as they say, Ansarullah in Yemen, enforce the genocide convention. And your government are the terror organizations. They're the ones that are funding this genocide. They're the ones giving the bombs.
Thank you.
Bunker busters
He's
to go
so
and bomb
based.
homes and civilian towers in Gaza. And whenever they carried out, the Western media will say Hamas strongholds, terror centers, Hezbollah strongholds. Why? Because they want to justify these terror attacks. No, the terrorists are in London and Washington and Paris and elsewhere. But since you think that somehow you're more civilized and that your countries are better than ours, whatever you do has justification. No, the terrorists are the ones who are supporting the Israeli regime who have been carrying out terror for years. Hamas, Islamic Jihad, they are the native population who have been utilized for 76 years, and Hezbollah has been trying to help them. They voluntarily entered this battle last year, Hezbollah, to draw the Israeli army away from Gaza so they would be able to kill less people. They are heroes, contrary to what you say, and your government has been helping the Israeli regime to slaughter. They've been giving them intelligence, political support, financial support, ammunition, and of course the weapons they have, and most importantly, the intelligence. All of the Five Eyes and Western intelligence and the AWACS that fly and the drones that fly alongside the Mediterranean, both for Gaza and Lebanon, they're helping the Israeli regime carry out its genocide.
Isn't the truth about this that there's a massive geopolitical battle of will going on, where you have Iran, you have Russia, you have China dancing somewhere in the middle, and on the other side you have the West, and there's a jostling for power and position and geography. You see it in Ukraine, you see it now in the Middle East, and that Iran is sitting there in a really interesting position where it's seeing Saudi Arabia nudging ever closer to normalizing relations with Israel. And if that was to happen after all the other Middle Eastern countries that have done that, it's pretty well game over for Iran's ability to destroy Israel and to destroy this normalization process. That's what Iran is terrified of. And that's why Iran has been so aggressively funding these groups, which I would categorize as terrorist groups. You categorize as freedom fighters, whatever you want to call them.
He's like, just waiting for my turn to speak, waiting for my turn to speak. Yeah, this is it.
Trump, you could survive it.
Yeah, you survived. That was the thing that got me. Was, or he's like, we can't survive 4 years of Trump, but 300,000 Palestinians didn't survive 4 years of Biden.
You survived 4 years of Trump. You could survive again. 240,000 Palestinians did not survive 4 years of Biden. You survived Trump. You survived it. Trump is going to be worse than Biden. Let's measure it. What do you mean relative to what happened to the Palestinians? Tell me what is so terrifying that you are willing to forgive the genocide in Gaza. Tell me what scares you so much that you are willing to step over Sidra's lifeless corpse with the legs blown off and say, excuse me, sorry. That you will step over Hind Rajab's cold corpse that was shot at 360 times by the Israelis while she sat in the car waiting for an ambulance that was blown by Israeli tank. That you step over Hind Rajab's body, sorry Hind. That you would step over Reem's body. Tell me what's so terrifying. You step over Reem, Ruh, spirit of my spirit. That you step over the child, you can't identify this child, the head's blown off. You step over them. You step over those 240,000 corpses to get to that ballot box. You step over all of them. You walk by the Palestinian refugees walking by. Where are you going? I'm going to the ballot box. Voting for who? You're too ashamed, embarrassed to say it at that time. You walk to the ballot box. You walk over those bodies, piles and piles of those bodies, drenched in the blood. You see those kids in those images of the hospitals, crushed by the rubble. Their arms are hanging, blood dripping for no other crime. Then some random people from the West said this land belongs to us. You will walk all over those corpses, go to the ballot box. Vote for the one who did it to them, Jalal. Vote for the one who slaughtered them. Vote for the one who massacred them. Vote for the one who continued to lend every impunity to them. Vote for the one who broke the whole international order. To slaughter those children. To slaughter our brothers and sisters. To commit the most brutal genocide. You will cross all of those corpses to the ballot box. You will put a cross next to the name of Harris, the one who committed the genocide with Biden. And you will yell to those spirits and say, I did it for you. You will look at them in the eye and say, I voted this for you. You will say that I voted for the one who killed you. I voted for the one who gave the bombs to slaughter you. More bombs than Dresden. More bombs than Hiroshima. More bombs than Nagasaki. More bombs than World War II. I voted for the one who gave unfettered access to all those weapons. I voted for the one who sent the Marines to help kill you. And you would dare to look me in the eye and say you did it for Palestine. You did it for them. The nerve, the sheer arrogance of it. It's not for Palestine. It's for your comfort. It's for your status quo. It's for the luxury that you live. Trump is not going to blow up your limbs. You're not going to have a limb amputated in the next 4 years because there's no anesthesia. You survived 4 years of Trump. You could survive again. 240,000 Palestinians did not survive 4 years of Biden. You survived Trump. You survived it. You didn't have your home taken from you. It wasn't handed to Ben Shapiro. It wasn't given to Ben Walsh. The National Guard didn't ethnically cleanse California of Muslims. They didn't go to the East Coast where it's colder. None of that happened to you in the 4 years, and none of that will happen to you in the next 4 years. What are you so scared of? That you will go to the ballot box and say, I'm voting for the genociders. Why would you rescue Zionism? Why would you rescue Zionism when it's buckling? Why would you restore their invincibility when it's breaking? Why would you go to the ballot box and say, Zionism, let me prove to the world that even if they support the genocide, they can still win because no one betrays Zionism? Why would you have the chance to break the two-party system? You go and rescue Zionism. Why would you have the chance to finally let people lose because they supported Zionism? Why would you go and help Zionism prove that 99 races run, 99 races won? Yeah, lie. Let there be justice in the world. You will not struggle like the Palestinians. You will not suffer anything like them. Yes, indeed, if you don't citizenship issues with America, come to London. London is nice once you get used to the weather. But do not say you're doing it for Palestine. Don't say you're doing it for Palestine. Be honest and say you're doing it for yourself. Because you don't want to be a people of struggle. Because the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the reason he was so successful was because he continued to persevere through the struggle. He was offered the dunya, he said, I will not give up justice. He was offered the comforts, he said, I will not give up justice. But we're telling our kids that you are not successful until you have the home and the Tesla. What do you think about it?
Yeah, wow.
Oh, motherfucker. All right. That's... What can you say to that? I mean, shame, really shame, you know, and after hearing how he put it, I don't think I've ever realized so assuredly that voting, you know, for the Democrats is such a mistake at this point. Like, it doesn't even matter what Trump or whatever. Trump could be worse than what's her name. But the point is that he's not going to be worse than Joe Biden. I just can't imagine. Because of just everything, you know. We can get into it later why, but this was just so powerful. Man, I don't know his name. I don't know. I'm not sure what his name is. But yeah, I mean, if you guys know that, I mean, this has been going on almost from the beginning. I mean, we're a year in, and I think I remember hearing, you know, this going on pretty much after like 2-3 months after it started, where they ran out of anesthesia. Can you imagine going through this kind of war without anesthesia? Like, they had it better in the American Civil War, like, no joke. Like, they had heroin and drugs, and they had alcohol. These guys, I mean, the Christians might have, the Muslims don't have alcohol. There's not alcohol being sold. They don't have, like, you know, a constant supply, not to mention they're completely cut off from everything. They don't have any medication coming in. They have no heroin, you know, or opium or whatever the hell that they would have used back in the day. This is so horrific that I cannot imagine. Now imagine the children. Imagine the limbs being cut off without anesthesia. Can you even imagine? Can you just please try to picture this if you're not on this side, you know, on the right side of fucking of history. Excuse my Turkish. Come on. Like, I just can't. I mean, can you imagine being the doctor that's going through all of this and there's no anesthesia? There's no way to, you're hearing everything, all the screams constantly, everything. Like, if it was me, I'm sure they might have to put in earplugs just to hear nothing, you know, or maybe like some kind of headphones and some kind of weird dystopian movie, like just where he's listening to something completely different, so he doesn't have to, so he can handle doing what he's doing. I mean, I could not, do any kind of medical procedure on anybody who's screaming, God. And imagine the children, you sick people who don't care. And there's a lot of examples. And I'm talking at this point, I mean, nothing gets me more angry than you stupid monarchist Iranians who've just lost all sense of humanity. If I had any respect for any of you, I've lost all of it at this point. Any kind of goodwill or anything good that came from the Pahlavi family, Pahlavi mother, this new one, I mean, this Robert Pahlavi guy, anything good that came from his father and his grandfather is being completely just in so many people's head, I am sure, just destroyed all their legacy because of what he's doing, becoming a dumb, useful idiot, just the worst, being used. And I don't even know what he hopes to gain. I mean, at this point, I'm sure he just hopes to be the Chalabi when America attacks Iran or whatever the hell he's imagining. He's such a traitor. And everybody who supports him and anybody who supports anybody else attacking their country is a traitor. Doesn't matter. There's no black. This is black and white as it gets. I don't care if you have reasons and all of this or whatever. Even if your guys are bad guys, the amount of death and destruction, especially nowadays, modern warfare, that you're going to be bringing, which inevitably kills so many innocents, is just unjustified. It doesn't even matter. And to you Iranians who are doing this for Devil Bibi and these child-killing murder Zionists, better learn to swimmers. You guys are just... What was that noise? I gotta go check what that noise was. We got bears around here. Like, they come around. Anyway, but just to finish, you guys are disgraceful, disgusting, and like, I don't know. Like, you can't expect anything from these Israeli Zionists who are just gone. They're psychopaths. It's done. It's over. You can't fix that. But with you guys, like, you know what I mean? Like, they almost don't make me as mad. They disgust me completely, but they don't get me angry when they spout their, their bull, their BS. I'm trying to not swear, guys. I'm sorry. But anyway, like, it's expected. They're psychos. They thrive off of the blood of Palestinians. That's obvious. But for you Iranians who are just like these far-right Indians who just love killing Muslims and just are also just like even more pathetic than you guys. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. I don't think I can think of a more pathetic example right now of those far-right Indians, wannabes who the Israelis don't even think about. Oh God. Anyway. Yeah. You guys, there's a good place in hell for you people. You Iranians, I mean. Those Israelis, of course. That's done with. You guys, I mean, it's to the point where, like, I would totally go all out and take one of you out. Not like kill you or anything, but I'd knock you the hell out. Just hearing you spot whatever the hell you guys I've heard. I can't even listen to it anymore in defense of all this. It's to the point where there's no shame. They're like literally acting like these psychopath Zionists where they're just like laughing at horror sometimes. I've seen it in like some of these like weird like channels where they're like showing you screenshots of different things, you know, that they've seen regarding whatever, and there was a gathering of all these different screenshots of Telegram channels that they were, you know, private Telegram channels that they've been following secretly, and it was just horrible things that people who know what the Israelis are doing probably could imagine. I mean, it's not that bad, obviously, but it's just horrible. I mean, just humanity is just non-existent within these people, and like these people, I would totally, I don't even care. I would totally, even if they're gonna, you know, totally destroy me, I would love to at least get a chance to totally hurt them so bad. Anyway, I'm getting I'm getting too deep into this. Anyway, and also like, so the anesthesia thing and all, you know, and also the Hind Rajab, you guys know about that, right? Look that up. Hind Rajab, Hind, last name Rajab. I'm guessing this is how you spell her name. It's also a very horrible story. Just shows you that these Zionists, these Israelis, are lying about any kind of humanity, any kind of morality, anything that they say they have. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna get into it, but look that up. Oh, all right. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Should I continue with this? We're at an hour and 42 minutes. I have a bunch more videos. Some of these, like I said, I haven't even seen just because there's no time to watch, summarize, make a video, and then I'm just going to watch it with you guys, and we're just going to go at it live, and we can see everything together. But I don't know if I should continue this or not. I mean, I am going to cut this up and everything. Tell me what you guys think I should do. You know, since I'm beginning this channel, I would love constructive criticism as much as you can. I mean, anything you think, any kind of hints that you think I should consider, anything. Let me know. If you think I could make it better, anything, let me know. And if you do not like what I'm saying, I think you should at least give it a chance. Maybe listen to it, because one thing that I've done, this is one of the habits that I have, is I have, you know, playlists of people that I do not agree with whatsoever, sometimes extremely against, actually, you know, like these Zionists. And I have a playlist that I, you know, put on, that I add on to, and I just listen to it while I'm working in the background. And, you know, I'm listening, I go in and out in terms of paying attention when I'm doing my work. And you would be surprised how many times that I've actually heard really good points coming from these people. And, you know, when you hear certain people say certain things from their point of view, it actually makes there's a lot of meaning behind who's saying it and what they're saying. And this has changed my opinion on a lot of things. So if you don't agree with me, I don't know. If you don't care about growing and, you know, learning and making, you know, thinking better and just, you know, completing your education as a human living these days, give it a chance. You know, maybe you know, I love changing my opinion and fixing what's wrong in my ideas and trying to actually move further towards what I think is true. And if you're not there and you don't care and you just hate everything that I said, or you're one of these people that absolutely is on the other side, then you can just go and, F yourself. I'm trying to not swear, guys. I'm sorry. I'm new to this whole not swearing things. So anyway, I'm gonna start with the next video, and here's Morgan Yo. And then I'll like I said, I'm gonna cut this into pieces and everything later for easier viewing. I'll probably label it if I figure out how or whatever. But let me see. Yeah, this one's actually pretty interesting. This next one. This is about the economy, and this is specifically important for people. Now, this is a growing or a working kind of thesis, idea, thing that I'm working on in terms of trying to analyze what's actually going on. I would love you guys' help, so we can actually try to come up with this and learn together and figure this out together. And that is related to pretty much the global economy, what's next in terms of what the elite are trying to do and all that. And this video, I think, is interesting in that it opens up some interesting angles, which is actually related to Israel. And that's why I said that this whole thing and how they're letting everything go just to save Israel proves this whole thing even more. And anyway, I'm going to put it on for you guys, and it actually makes the coming future that's coming much scarier than before. I mean, I've been thinking about this from before. I just found this video that really gave some good examples and this new developments that are actually really positive for this theory, which we'll get into after I put the video in. But while you're watching this, keep in mind that maybe the goal is to start the war, because this is the last ditch effort to save, the world that they own at this point. The elite of the Western elite, I guess, if you want to call it like that. Anyway, watch this, and then this is very interesting in terms of people who are into Bitcoin, even though this guy's apparently not a Bitcoin guy. Let me just bring it on. I don't even know who he is. I'm not subscribed to him at all, but I should be. I'm going
The
to.
new Bearskin Hoodie 4.0 claims to be the most advanced waterproof tactical hoodie.
Sorry about that. This guy, but the points that he brings up are extremely interesting and very, I think, on point, which makes me. I'm going to go back and see what other videos he has anyway. But this is important for people who are interested in gold, silver, sound money, that don't like the fiat system, central banking, all of that. Bitcoin, even though he doesn't like Bitcoin, apparently. I've only seen this one video of him, which I think he's just wrong. We can get into that later. I think it'd be interesting if he would look into it a little bit more. But whatever he's saying about gold and whatnot, I think also goes for Bitcoin. So just keep that in mind. And whatever he says, also keep in mind that all the negative things that they're trying to say, that the war that would, I guess you could even call it World War, but it's not going to be anything like World War II or whatever. It's going to be completely different. It's going to look different. Try to imagine that all the negative things that might come from such a thing might actually be positive if you look at it in a new light in terms of a reset.
Monday, September 23rd, 2024, Monaco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. Well, we're going to be looking at Israel today, and nothing to do with their conflict with the other countries around the region in which they're in, but more to do with the monetary system. Yes, we've seen some very interesting news out of Israel.
Let it play. I'll be back.
That was put out there by Rafi Faber and also Willem Middelkoop from the Netherlands. And it's to do with the ownership of gold and silver in Israel.
Let me show who it is, so I don't get
Before I go further,
go and watch him, because I don't know. I don't know anything else. This is the only video I've seen, but it was so on point. I think there's potential in learning from this guy in general and subscribing to him. So maybe go at him. His name is Manico64, as you can see. So I'm trying to, give him credit. So if, sir, if you see this or whatever, please don't flag me for copyright or whatever. Hopefully that you can benefit from other people seeing this and they come to you. But I just thought that your video was so important that I had to put it on. Same goes with everybody else that I show. So anyway.
Further, though, I like to say this is not going to discourage me from trying to keep stacking gold and silver. And I don't care where the price really is. The price is just a signal of how under threat the fiat currency system is.
That's a interesting little point, by the way, that I think it is interesting to look at. One way to look at the price of gold, is not how much it's worth, but how much bad the fiat system's doing. So basically, they're opposite of each other. And so whenever the financial system, so one way to judge, whatever financial system is to look at it in terms of how it's doing versus gold, right? So when money becomes worthless, literally just means gold going up in a way. Looking at it like that is very interesting. So
and the banker system. And that's why I'm still affiliated with Gold Investments in the UK and Miles Franklin in the US. And if you're looking to add on or start stacking gold and silver, go to the description of this video, and all the details are there, how to get in touch with Gold Investments in the UK. I've been dealing with them for over 20 years. They've been in business for almost 45 years. It's a family-run business, and you can always try to negotiate, get the best price from them. They will match other dealers. And also Miles Franklin in the US, family-run business. They've been around for over 30 years as well. I think they were founded in 1989. So back to gold, back to the state of Israel. And one thing I like to say first is that I'm not criticizing the Jewish faith or anything. I'm criticizing here the state of Israel. And I think the purpose of the state of Israel, if you look back in history, was for the Rothschilds to have a presence in that part of the world. And why would they want a presence in that part of the world? Well, because, as Halford Mackinder said, the country that controls the walled island controls the world. And you just have to look at a map of where Israel is to see how strategic it is. It's right in the middle of the Silk Road, and it's just above the Suez Canal. So it's very strategic. And yes, there are other reasons people might think for having a state of Israel where it is, biblical reasons and religious reasons. But I think for the Rothschilds, it's all to do with control of the world and the money and the resources. And central banking as well. I recently spoke about this book here. Well, back on 18th of September, I'm going to put the video I did up in the cards, and you see the real purpose of the Federal Reserve and this book, Our Crowd, and you'll see how instrumental the Rothschilds have been in creating the Federal Reserve, in running the Bank of England, in running the gold market in London. They've been running, well, they haven't been for 20 years, but since the beginning of the 20th century, they were running the price fixing mechanism that has become the price fixing mechanism for the LBMA. 20 years ago, of course, the FT said that gold was going, that it was pointless to hold gold. And it noted here that even NM Rothschild has quit the gold market, right? They quit the LBMA, but I don't think they quit. They just went into the background and let the banks, the bullion banks, do their dirty work. And because they know that without gold, you can't control, you can't control really the world. And he who holds the gold controls or makes the rules, right? And also he who controls the money doesn't care who's in, you know, who makes the laws. That's what Lord Rothschild said in the 19th century. And so what's come out of Israel? Well, I saw this morning from Rafi. Owning gold or silver soon to become illegal in Israel. And I recommend you follow him on Twitter or X and have a look at it. He translated the something that someone in Israel who's a libertarian posted. It's all in Hebrew, and I don't understand it, but I trust Rafi Faber to tell the truth. So I retweeted his post. I said, the state of Israel proves that gold is a threat to statists and authoritarians. It's not just a pet rock, another reason to own it. So I see that Willem Middelkoop, who's also a gold proponent, right? He's written a lot about gold and the system. He's involved in the mining business. He retweeted something from Efrat Fenixson, who is a podcaster in Israel. I think she's a libertarian. She's a Bitcoin maximalist. Unfortunately, they're not planning to ban Bitcoin in Israel, but according to her, they're gonna limit. Or according to William Middelkoop, it says, warning, it's starting. According to this Israeli publication, and he's quoting it, it will also be prohibited to possess significant amounts of cash substitutes. Well, they're not cash substitutes, they're cash. What we have today that's called cash is just promissory notes for debt. Debts that are backed by nothing, of course. So gold, silver, metals, coins, etc. I'm not sure if they've added Bitcoin to it. Is it possible they're going to do the same thing here in the UK and in the US? Yes, it is possible. I'm not discounting it, but it's not going to discourage me from accumulating more and more gold and silver as much as I can. I know it's getting more and more unaffordable, of course, because our currencies are going down the toilet. And I think that's why this is happening in Israel. And why is Israel significant? Well, just look at the major boulevard in Tel Aviv. It's called Sderot Rothschild Boulevard. It runs right through the heart of Tel Aviv. So, yeah, and who controls the central banks? Well, read this book and listen to my video from last week, and you'll find out. And another interesting thing to say about Israel and their central bank is that Stanley Fischer, he was the head of the Israeli central bank, but guess.
That doesn't seem like an interesting video I'll watch. I'll probably watch it with you guys later.
What other central bank he was the vice chairman of? Well, the Federal Reserve. So it doesn't really matter here. The central bankers are in charge of all the countries in the West, and they're getting desperate. And it doesn't matter. And I think, unfortunately, Israel could be a signal, but we're going to have to keep an eye on it. And they are desperate. And why do I think they're desperate? Not just on the silver side, which I spoke about I posted on Saturday a really popular interview, it seems right now, up to now. We've gotten 43,000 views. It's with David Jensen. He's been covering the LBMA and the Bank of England for years. And he says the London bullion market has sent gold and silver supply to the moon. And I think they're desperate because it's such a leveraged paper market that they've had to have Argentina help out. Argentina has moved, I think, almost all its gold reserves, and Argentina doesn't have that much gold. It only has, according to the statistics here from Wikipedia, it's not even in the top 30. Argentina has 61.7 tons of gold, and the Bank of England holds 4,800 tons of gold. But you can see here from the Bank of England statistics that since November last year, their holdings of gold have gone up by about 7 million troy ounces, which is about just under 200 tons. So I think Argentina is giving a helping hand to the central bankers. And what do I think of Millet? Well, I think Milei is controlled opposition. To be kind to him, I don't want to say what I think about him. The man who said he was going to abolish the Central Bank of Argentina. Well, where was the first place he went after he was inaugurated as president of Argentina? Well, he went to Israel. When he went to New York, who did he meet in New York? Bill Clinton. So yeah, totally controlled opposition. The guy who wanted to abolish the Central Bank of Argentina is helping the granddaddy of all central banks, the Bank of England, keep this endless supply of gold and silver going. And I think they're really desperate because I think the Bank of England is scraping the barrel because Argentina has very little gold reserve. As you can see, it's number 47 in the world. And the Bank of England has supposedly in their LBMA approved vaults or whatever, they've got 4,800 tons. So why do they desperately need 48 tons or 61.7 tons from Argentina? So there you go. Things are getting really interesting. Is it any wonder the dollar keeps making new lows? And so do the other major fiat currencies. And by making new lows, I mean gold going up. So yes, it's heating up, this fight between really dishonest, fraudulent money versus sound, honest money. And who's going to win? I don't know. But my battle here is against the central bankers, the people who control the gold market right now, with a lot of paper, with a lot of nothing. And why are they being challenged? Well, I think they're being challenged by people who are probably not that much better than they are morally, i.e. the Chinese, the Russians, but people who don't want to be controlled by the bankers in the West. And we're in the middle of this. And all I can say is, yes, don't be scared, because the only alternative to holding gold and silver, and by being scared, I mean financially scared, the only alternative is to hold fiat currency. And we know where fiat currency is going. And I think they're showing loads of desperation, the central bankers in the West and the people who control the money and the gold market. And they're not going to give up this fight very easily. And by that, I mean, you're going to see a lot of movement in the paper price of gold and silver. That's going to scare a lot of people. like this morning already here in London, you can see the LBMA and the bullion banks are attacking silver. And why? Well, because gold was trading to a new high of 26.31 earlier today. And now about an hour later at 8:35 a.m. London, gold is back to 26.17. It's down just $5. But silver, for some reason, as David Jensen says, LBMA is conjuring thousands of millions of tons out of thin air. And silver, for no particular reason, is down 60 cents at 30.58. And all I can say to the viewers and people who are proponents of honest, sound money, and it's really important to have honest, sound money. And why? Well, because if you don't have honest and sound money in a society, you can't have an honest and just society. And that's the whole problem. Again, I'm not saying the Jews are doing this. It's the bankers, the Rothschilds. I'm not even sure that they're real Jews. It's like a lot of the bankers that are not Jewish. Are they really Christian and moral? So yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm just observing the way they act in the financial realm. So very interesting goings on. And I think this news about the state of Israel banning or limiting the ownership of gold and silver is very important. And here for the UK as well, we're going to have to keep an eye on what they do on October 30th. Yes, it is concerning. Is it time to leave the UK, or is it time for Rafi to leave Israel? Well, that's up for him to decide. I don't think he will. Time to leave the UK, I don't know, because if it's happening in Israel, if it happens here and in the US, you can bet it's going to be bad everywhere. So I'm not sure what to say about that, but it's not going to scare me from jumping off the Titanic. And by that, I mean jumping off the fiat currency dollar system and going on to a gold lifeboat, gold and silver lifeboats. So there you go. Let's quickly look at the markets then, just before we wrap up here for the day. Well, gold is at 26.15. It's down $7. And yes, you can bet the bullion banks and the BIS are involved in the paper market. and that's what they do. They need to control the price. They don't want people getting physical, and there's no better proof than that than the Bank of Israel or Israel trying to limit gold and silver ownership. Silver is at 30.55. Stock market is down a little bit. The Dow futures down 43. The Nasdaq is up 15. S&P is actually unchanged for the day. What about the currencies? Well, the pound is down 0.4%. The euro is down almost 0.5%. So yeah, the dollar is rebounding a little bit here.
All right, sorry. Okay. And I'm gonna shut this here, and then I don't know, I might start back up. We'll see. So anyway, thanks for whoever is still here, and I'm gonna try to cut this up to make it easier viewing. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye for now.